Welcome to DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn, a unique blend of hunting, fishing, wildlife conservation, and the outdoor lifestyle. DSC's Campfires is brought to you by DSC, Conservation, Education, and Advocacy. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Taurus, award-winning revolvers and pistols. Stealth Vision, high-tech, precision-driven equipment for today's modern hunter. Mossberg, American-built, American-strong. Vineyard Max, deer attractants created for the aroma of success, game feeders, and other hunting products. Red 55 Winery, signature wines from Emmy Award-winning country artist Miranda Lambert, owned by Rick and Beverly Lambert. And the Choctaw Hunting Lodge, home of some of the finest hunting in North America. Now, here's Larry.
Welcome to another episode of DSC's Campfires, of all places, coming to you from the world headquarters of Stealth Vision in Crockett, Texas, named after Davy Crockett when Davy Crockett came through this way, headed to the Alamo. Got a special guest with me back here once again, a truly special friend in so many different ways. So proud to have him here. Sitting beside me, Dr. Mike Arnold. Dr. Mike Arnold, welcome again to the campfire.
I still think you're trying to lower your listenership by having me on, but thank you for having me on, Larry. Thank you.
Such a great pleasure. Now, not too long ago, you and I both went on a black bear hunt, but you went to the far west part of Canada, and I kind of stayed in the central part. Tell me about that hunt, and yours was a spot-and-stalk.
It was. So I hunted with an outfitter that does outfit for lots of different things, but he outfits in BC, in British Columbia. And I always wanted a color phase bear, what we call a color phase bear. Biologists like you know about it. I mean, a lot of mammals do have different coat colors out there, but I love black bear. I love my black bear that I've gotten that's black. But I was hoping I'd run into one of those. But so our camp was, we had to take a barge across a lake. They have finger lakes there, just like we have in Upper New York. They were carved out by glaciers, all of those lakes. And so the lake that we went across was 600 feet deep at its deepest. So it's
good gosh.
Once again, and we ate lake trout out of it. I will tell you, at a campfire. So at a campfire in the meal. So we fished there just a little bit, but we had to drive forever to get to the barge itself, and then we took the barge across the lake, and then it was about 15, 20 minutes down the logging roads. Everything was logging roads.
Right, yes.
Right.
Right.
I mean, you've been in that area, and so everything is accessible by logging roads. Now, you got to watch out for the darn logging trucks.
Yeah, they use reckless abandon as their primary thought process, I think.
That is. But I will tell you, on the way, just the drive out from the little town there, on the way to camp, we saw three black bears.
Goodness.
And while we were there, every day we saw bears. And actually the outfitter, Michael, he sort of apologized. He said, we set this up to be real late. And I said, well, yeah, that was because of me, because of teaching at the university. He said, earlier in the season when and you'd know this because you've hunted black bears a lot more than I have, but he said earlier in the season when the green is more limited, so you don't have so much green up there, he said, we'll see 30 a day. And he said, we'll probably see 3 a day at the most. I'm like, shoot, three's fine with me. It's shooting, and it turned out that we had great success too. But we saw a grizzly bear, pair there, huge boar, and a huge sow they played in front of us on a road for about a half an hour.
Oh, my goodness.
I know, we photographed the heck out of them. But there's moose, you know that area. I mean, there's moose, there's mule deer, there's elk. The elk are coming back in there. They haven't had them there. And I did not realize that the elk were missing in there, but now they're back. And he showed me some videos. They haven't hunted them there. He showed me videos of something that was like a 9x8 with the most incredible mass. He had videoed this elk out in this area, so he's going to start hunting elk there too. But the black bear hunt, what we did was, it was a spot and stalk. We would drive the logging roads looking for them, and then once we spotted them, then we would, get rid of the pickup. And make sure that, in fact, the one that I got, Michael Schneider, my outfitter there and guide, he must have backed a quarter of a mile to get
back out of the area.
Just backed down the road and around a curve so that then we could start stalking, hidden from the bear. And so what we did was we came around. It was the funniest thing because Frances, my wife's with me, and she's doing the photography and all this sort of thing, and she's in the back seat, and we drive up. We're driving. We come around a corner, and there's this beautiful, I call it chocolate colored. They call it cinnamon.
Yes.
Okay, it's a cinnamon bear is really, I know, but I like calling him chocolate because it reminds me of not dark chocolate now. But anyway, so Michael, came to a stop, and he said to Frances, take some photos. And I looked at this bear, and I can't judge size, but I looked at this bear, and I said, is that a shooter? Because look at the color. I mean, the color was, it turned out to be a dry sow, but she was just glowing in the sunshine. I mean, she was just gorgeous.
I can only imagine.
Oh my goodness. And so that's when he backed out, and we started a stalk. We followed her. Once again, we didn't know it was her then, but we followed her probably for about 3/4 of a mile, I guess, down the road. She was walking away from us. The wind was right in our face, and it was blowing steady, and it was blowing hard enough that she couldn't hear us either. So, but the problem was we came around a corner, and there was a little bit of an open area, burned area, probably small pines in it, and she was gone. And there was deep, dense, some of those dense forests over to our left, and Michael said, well, and I think we probably lost her, just whispered it. And so we're glassing, and it's the first time I think I've ever seen an animal before my guide did.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, I spotted her, and I sort of nudged Michael, and she was about 60 yards away, maybe 50 yards, and she was browsing, she was eating, digging up and digging things out of the soil and all this. And he studied her again, and just to make sure, once again, I don't know how, now the one you got, there was absolutely no question that thing was as big as a barn. And so you'll get them like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, your size bear that you shot, I think automatically you go, holy smokes, that's a big bear.
That's close to what I said.
I'm not going to guess.
No, neither will I.
But so he studied, and he said, oh yeah, that is a shooter. And so I was carrying, I was carrying a .338 Federal ultralight from MG Arms. And I had never shot one before. I reviewed the rifle and got pretty good with it. And I was on my 4 stable sticks, just waiting for her to, because it was brushy, and I was thinking, is it going to deflect the bullet and this sort of stuff? And but she gave me, let me back up.
Okay.
One of the things that I was told is it's real easy to shoot too high on a bear.
Yes.
And you had told me that, Mike, be careful. Look at the anatomy of the bear, and so I did that before I left. But you know what? I still shot high. I didn't shoot way high.
Right,
It went
right.
through both lungs, and
Perfect.
she went up a rise maybe 20 yards and then toppled over. And that
man.
.338 Federal, boy, that was a good round for a bear, I'll tell you.
338 Federal, the first time I had an opportunity to use was many years ago. We had it in a TC Encore, both a rifle and a handgun, and ended up taking the rifle to Africa, and it did a really great job on oryx. Shot a bunch of oryx with it and all those kind of things, but great caliber, just one of those that never really caught on.
Never caught on.
And it's a shame because it does great things, quite frankly.
Well, and Kerry O'Day at MG Arms, that's his personal rifle.
That's what you were telling me. Because I said, why in the world would you happen to choose a 338 Federal? And he goes, well, it's Kerry's personal favorite rifle.
It's his favorite rifle. He's shot all sorts of stuff with it, and he said this will be great for a bear. It had a low powered scope on it,
Right.
for my eyes anyway nowadays. Yeah. And but I was talking to Michael Schneider, and he said we're not going to shoot over 200 yards.
Right.
I mean, we're not going to. He said you won't shoot at 200 yards, not where we are. And I said okay. And sure enough, we didn't. But we saw, once again, after we got her, we saw bear every darn day. She was the only color phase that we saw, but we saw some enormous black ones. I'll tell you.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Bigger than her. And Michael said, this is it's a 2-bear area.
Yes, right.
And he said, I said, Michael, I'm tickled pink that I've gotten this bear because this is exactly what I wanted in terms of the coloration.
In terms of color, particularly.
And, we hunt. Larry, you know how it is. She isn't the biggest one on the block. She's got a big head on her,
Yes.
big skull on her. But when they pulled it out, I mean, she really is a significant sized bear. But for me, that's hunting, right? You go out for certain experiences, and I would have shot a black one.
Right,
If we hadn't
right.
found a color phase, that would have been fine because I like hunting black bears. I really do. I don't know why, but I like hunting bears.
I'm laughing because I really do too. I've been very fortunate. I've hunted black bear numerous times, and the hunt that you were on was a spot-and-stalk hunt.
Yep.
In British Columbia, you can't bait. In Alberta, you can bait, and to me, the fun in baiting is to watch the interaction of the bears.
Yeah.
Like, I got very fortunate. Literally on the first afternoon, they had this particular bear that was coming to a bait. It had been sat on several times by hunters, but that bear would come in and peek around a tree and then stare up into the blind. And if there was somebody in the blind, that bear turned around and wouldn't come back. And so they asked me, I said, look, I love to hunt on the ground. I said, let's find a spot. I can just get away, from that. And so sure enough, I'm sitting on the ground watching this bait, and this bear comes in, and I can see him coming from the backside. And as he's coming in, I can see the bear is really big. And the first thing he did when I saw him is he looked up in the stand, which was set up for archery hunting, so it was relatively close. And there was nobody in the stand. So he came to the barrel, and when he approached from the backside of this 50-gallon drum barrel, he was bigger than the barrel. He was looking over the top of it. So immediately I knew, this is certainly a bear that won. And I was looking for a color phase, but at the same time, huge black bear, you don't turn down.
You
kind
couldn't
of
have
thing.
turned that. I mean, that was an enormous black bear.
And I was fortunate because as it worked out, I didn't have to take a rifle on this hunt because Brad Fenson, who's a friend of ours and lives up here, and he said, Larry, if you just want to bring an optic, a scope, he said, I've got several Mossberg rifles, including the 308, and he said, you're more than welcome to do that. And I go, absolutely. So getting to where we are now, that bear came in, it was raining ungodly hard, pouring down. Light conditions were absolutely horrible. But prior to leaving to go up to Alberta, I'd met with Dr. John McCall and Joe Cunningham with Stealth Vision, and to utilize one of their scopes. It was a 3x18x44 SVT 3x18x44, I think is the official designation. And I mounted it on that rifle when we got there using Hornady ammunition, and shot, of course, very nicely at 50 yards. Would have shot a whole lot even at long distances. But the one thing that kind of really got me interested in this particular model of their scope, it also has the potential for a lit reticle. And knowing that in the past, having hunting with black crosshairs against the black background of a bear in very poor light conditions, it's kind of hard to place very precise bullet placement.
Yeah.
So I was able to poke that thing on, and when that bear finally turned just a little bit and gave me a quartering shot kind of toward me, I was able to get it into him, and he ran off, and then it started raining like absolutely even harder, and we looked for him a little bit late that afternoon, and then had to go back the next morning because the rain had pretty much knocked the blood out. And we were able to go back in the next morning. We'd left some little tissues where we'd last seen the blood, and had we gone another probably 7 or 8 steps the night before, we'd have found my bear.
What kind of Hornady ammo were you using?
With that one, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but it was the ELDX, but okay. I can't remember what the grain weight on that 30 caliber is right now.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up, but it was a precision hunter is what we had at camp. But the bear it was perfectly hit. It didn't go very far as it worked out. He didn't go maybe 35 steps, so we'd stopped at about 30, and sure enough, and walked up on him, and I knew it was a big bear, but I had no earthly idea it was quite as big as what it was. As it worked out, the bear probably weighed pretty close to 400 pounds, which is a spring bear, huge, had a huge frame. His measurement immediately behind his ears had a neck like a weightlifter, was 38 inches.
Holy!
So it's like he went from head to shoulders.
He's one of the hitmen.
He was one. Yes. I think he probably was. I think he really was. But anyway, just absolutely thrilled. And I spent some time hunting, after that, because it is a 2-bear area. But if I could have found a color phase somewhat like what you'd shot, absolutely. Or if I could have found a bear that was bigger, which there are some bigger bear there, but to me, I love the sitting there and hunting and watching the birds and watching when we did have bear come in, and I passed up a really nice blonde, very young bear. Probably had just been weaned that year, and to me, one of the problems with the color phase bears is, in terms of if you want to call it a problem, is that generally when hunting is going on, they get shot early because people are totally fascinated by them, as am I.
Yeah.
So they don't really, that many of them get into those older age classes to where they get to the size of the bear that I shot, although some of them do. But all that said and done is, I can't wait to go back again next year, and we'll hunt that area. But we've also found another area in Saskatchewan that Brad came up with, where there's a 1-bear area, but they have not hunted that area for a long time. And according to Brad, who knows bears, he said there's a fair number of color phase bears compared to other places. So I'm already looking forward to that one.
Well, and I didn't realize the area we were in British Columbia, it's about, they estimate 25 to 30% of their bears are color phase, but it's like your blonde was too young.
Right.
And so it's like any other animal you're out there hunting, most of them are not going to be shooters.
No, not to me, it comes down to maturity.
Exactly.
I mean, whether we're hunting white-tailed deer, mule deer, elk, whatever, I'm more concerned about shooting a mature or over-the-hill animal than I am, just shooting an animal. Now, as the head of the genetics department at the University of Georgia, my question to you is, why do you think there are color phase black bear, particularly where you find them, and then along almost the entire western coast, far western coast, far eastern coast? They're occasionally see some odd colors, but they're primarily black. But you get kind of moved toward in the interior, and there's a tendency to have a fair number of anything from white to blonde to light cinnamon to dark cinnamon to chocolate to dark chocolate, and all those different kind of color phases.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you science speak because you're a scientist, and so you're. Please bear with me, listeners.
Literally.
Yeah, bear with me.
Bear with me.
So probably the most likely thing was that there was a population that it went through population reduction at some point in time, and it sort of fixed those genes
Yes.
in that area. I bet you get that in white-tailed deer too, right? I mean, if you reduce it down,
Yes.
any animals, you reduce them down to a fairly small population size. If there are mutations like this color phase, they can get higher frequency.
Yes.
They can also go extinct. The same, it can go one way or the other is what we find. So I'm guessing that if someone did genetics in that area, they would then, working back, because you can work back from the present populations and say, yeah, it's like dogs and wolves. How many wolves were used to produce our domestic dogs? Well, it was a real small population, and we can count back and figure out how sort of the size. Bet you they'd find that.
You know what? That makes a tremendous amount of sense, because years ago, talking about white-tailed deer, when I was really spending a lot of time on different ranches and all those kind of things, somebody would bring a deer into a check station or whatever. I could tell you where that deer came from before somebody said, well, what ranch did it come from? Because there were these little family-style characteristics that you would see, in terms of antlers, in terms of coloring, markings, and all those other kind of things. So that really, I'd never really thought about it in that respect on the color phase of the bear.
Yeah,
but my gosh, that makes sense.
I suspect that's what happened, and their population. I mean, it may seem counterintuitive to some folks, but the forestry practices that they have there has really allowed those bears to explode in numbers. I mean, that's why, I told you that, he was apologizing for not seeing 30 bears a day, which he does in the early season when the green up is more limited, because they're in those green up areas until you see a lot. But, I mean, they have a ton of bears.
Yes.
There. And they have a lot of grizzlies.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they're not allowed to hunt them.
No,
And that's, the First Nation folks can, but, person like me can't.
No, and it's unfortunate, because the bear populations could certainly warrant those kind of hunting opportunities there. With that said, let's kind of switch horses a little bit.
Yes, sir.
I mentioned the Stealth Vision scope that I took to Canada, brought back, and then I've since put it on a different rifle. Now, we're in the world headquarters of Stealth Vision here, downtown Crockett, Texas, and it got you guys in here, you being, of course, you, and Jeff Johnson, who's from Oklahoma, and Ron Spomer, who's from up somewhere in the North Mountain Country, depending on what day you talk to him, kind of thing. But we brought you guys down here to have an opportunity to get to know some of the people involved with Stealth Vision, and know a little bit how the products were developed, why they were developed, but then also having them on different rifles that the Stealth Vision has associated themselves with in terms of optics. And having done so now, and you didn't get to shoot a whole lot this morning, you spent a lot of time shooting photographs, but you also had the opportunity to shoot and really look at some of these optics.
Absolutely.
And so that being the case, what do you think about all this stuff?
Well, you and I were talking about it. Joe Cunningham and Dr. John, Doc, they are intent on making sure that their optics are top of all other optics. They don't want to be second best. And as you know, I ran into these optics because of you when we were out in far west Texas, because you brought one of the prototypes of their spotting scope, and I was blown away how great it was out there. It was a quote-unquote prototype, so it wasn't, I guess
wasn't the
maybe
quite finished product. We added a few things to it after.
Boy, it was clear. I was amazed out there. So I sort of knew that when I got this invitation, I was over the moon because I wanted to see more of their products. And so this morning, Joe gave me a hard time, and you did too, I think. So every time I shot,
Kind of behind your back.
every time I shot, he'd say, "What do you want to start?" And I said, 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Let's just do 1,000 yards.
Right.
I want to really, because that's a challenge for me. I don't shoot long distances regularly. Yeah, I've written 2 articles recently where I shot at a mile, but that's weird for me. I just don't shoot
It is weird for me too.
long distances. So I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to challenge my 67-year-old eyes. And what it amounts to is that their optics they blow every other optic I've ever used. And I have other optics.
Oh yes.
From name brands, and I love those, but these optics are fabulous.
To me, one of the things that's so unique about these is that Dr. John McCall, who is one of the preeminent eye surgeons, deals primarily with glaucoma surgery type of thing. But what he was able to learn using equipment that he developed for surgery on the human eye, and he goes, well, I could take this and turn this into, because he loved to hunt, and he's hunted all over the world. And he said, I could take this and what could I do with it, in terms of optics for hunting? And the products that they've produced is because of that, and they're just, to me, you're right. They're kind of second to none. I've looked at all the others over the years. I've been very fortunate, have great relationships with several companies, have several people who are dear friends who work for some of these other companies. But their optics don't quite reach up to what these optics do that they're producing through Stealth Vision.
Well, and one of the things that Joe is, an amazing athlete, and his dad is in the Hall of Fame.
The Baseball Hall of Fame.
Baseball
St.
Hall of
Louis
Fame.
Cardinals.
And so, Joe was explaining, about cant, and that's when you got your head sort of wonky and your eyes a little bit wonky. And John was talking about it too, and my sniper buddies talk about it all the time. And they have a function within their scope that's a green light, as you know, and down at the bottom. And today, y'all did give me a hard time because I shot at 1,000 yards, and it was sub-MOA, obviously. I was still hitting the thing. But then Joe said, is the green bubble centered? And I went, oh yeah, the green bubble. I got to learn how to use their optics. But I tell you, that is revolutionary.
It makes all the difference in the world. Now, like most of us, if you're hunting at 200 yards, you can cant the rifle. And so what if you're off an inch? It's not going to make any difference. But when you start looking and shooting long-range targets, or even if you were shooting an animal at 1,000 yards, that cant that was off an inch at 200 could be as much as 30, 40 inches off, depending on the ammo, the gun, and all those kind of things. Yep. So, and that's something new to me, too, because when I first started shooting them, shooting long range, I've shot up FTW, and we had these little level things that you attach to your scope, and you flip them out, and then you're constantly looking up and you're up and down, looking up, looking down. Well, the beauty of this is it's an integral thing, integral thing. And if you just got to look at the crosshairs, look down, okay, I got to move a little to the right, a little bit to the left, okay, there's the green light, okay, now I can concentrate on where I want to put the bullet. Yep. And it makes that so very easy and so very quick. Then the more that you shoot that scope, the quicker you become, and it becomes second nature, rather than making yourself, okay, I got to make sure this thing is, perfectly level kind of thing. And so I think I've shot it enough now to where I just kind of glanced and, okay, there it is. Now I'm ready to go.
And that's the thing I found, even though, like you said, I was shooting more photos today than I was cartridges through rifles, but that was okay. I wanted to, for these articles, I sure as heck wanted plenty of photos. But even though I didn't shoot as much, by the end, it was becoming second nature.
It does.
To glance.
It becomes very quick.
Because it really is right there. And you can tell these guys, they know they're hunting.
Yes.
and they know their long range shooting, and they know how to engineer these, because he's an eye doctor. He knows how to engineer these so that it works the best with your eyes. And I really like it.
There's several things, of course, they're relatively new to the market, and that will expand very, very quickly because of the quality and all these other little things. There's several little other things that we hadn't talked about, and I'll get them to speak about those a little bit. But as more people become aware of this, they'll become more widespread. But one of the things that they're really good about too is if somebody wants one of their scopes, they say, "Hey, come on to Crockett, Texas. We'll put it on your scope. We'll put your scope on the rifle, or let you shoot one of our rifles, and you can learn all about it. We'll take you to the range. We'll take you out to 1,200 yards, and where people can really get the feel of it even before they end up buying one."
So, well, I told you, because they're making a big boo-boo because they're leaving scopes not on rifles, laying around on tables over here. I told you, I'm pretty certain my luggage is going to be a little bit heavier when I go home.
About 2 pounds, or maybe 4 pounds, or maybe 6 pounds.
I said to Joe, "You've got to quit doing this. I learned how to steal stuff when I was a kid. Don't leave these wonderful toys out there." But no, seriously though, they have done an amazing job, and they're going to talk about all their other products, but darn, they're making tripods and everything else, and they're the best darn quality stuff.
We were having lunch today after coming in from shooting, and Joe made the comment, says the one thing about Dr. McCall, it's either going to be the top or it's not going to be done, and there's that commitment to quality to the nth degree. And it's on every one of their products, and not just every one of their products, but every one of the individual SKUs or individual items the same way. I mean, every one of these scopes that goes out of here, Joe has run through all kinds of calibrations. He knows exactly what that scope's supposed to do. He knows everything is done absolutely properly like it needs to be before it goes to the consumer's hand. So to me, it's one of those things that commitment to quality is going to really push this product moving forward with the shooting public.
Well, and also you have two guys at the top of this company that are absolutely outstanding in what they do. I mean, Joe, doesn't know the eye stuff, probably the physiology like John does, but was it 500 yards that he put 3 bullets in the same hole?
We've been doing a little bit with Aviant, and I got Aviant folks to send their new heat releasing technology barrel gun in a 7 PRC, and we were shooting at 500 yards after Joe had cleaned the rifle, and with that particular load that was kind of designed for that rifle, and that individual rifle. And at 500 yards, he shot 3 times, and they absolutely went into the same hole at 500 yards. I've seen a lot of people shoot. I've seen a lot of good shots. I've seen some of the best world-class shooters. I've never seen anybody to do that, and I think it surprised him, even though he's absolutely a fabulous shooter, it surprised him how well he did, and to see that happen. So we'll visit a little bit more about that, because after spending some time last night with Dusty at Vickery at the Choctaw, we've got a hunt coming up that I think somehow or another Dr. Mike Arnold's name came up, and I got a feeling Dr. Mike Arnold had better be there.
Yes, sir. I tell you what, I want to go see that place. That sounds like a magical place. Yeah, well, the photos I've seen, oh my goodness, it's a beautiful area.
It is. Mike, I am looking forward to that hunt. I think we better try to cut this off right now. We need to get out to Doc's house, and dinner's not far away. So just want to say thank you so very much for joining us around the campfire. I cannot wait until the next time we get together.
Well, thank you so much, Larry. This is awfully kind of you.
Oh, no, it's only the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you right back here next week, same place, and not sure who we'll have as a guest, but probably be somebody that was in camp with us. So join us here, right here again on all these different networks next week. Thank you.
DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn has also been brought to you by the Crown Bar in LaGrange, Texas, the Texas Wildlife Association, Double Nickel Taxidermy, and Burnham Brothers Game Calls.